Pregame.com.
Tuesday night, Mountain West Conference action, UNLV at TCU. I'm Marco D'Angelo. I'm joined by Brian Leonard. We're going to get to this game here in a second, but I got to set the stage for you. My buddy Brian was at the UNLV game on Saturday. So was I. I was there with my wife. Brian was with his brother-in-law?
Brother-in-law, yeah.
Yeah. So I never met Brian's brother-in-law. So what my buddy does to me is he, shows his brother-in-law a picture of me so that whenever we're going to meet at a bar inside the Thomas and Mack. So when I walk in, his brother-in-law comes up to me and goes, "You're Marco D'Angelo. I watch you all the time. Love the videos. That guy, Brian Leonard, he makes the show."
My brother-in-law is pretty smart. What can I say?
What a guy, yeah. Yeah. My wife likes your hijinks, too.
There you go. Yeah, I thought the first time I ever met her, I thought she was going to hit me. But no, got along pretty well. I guess you got a lot of people that like to make fun of you.
All right, let's get down to business. Gotta love them. Big game for UNLV. I mean, seriously, that probably, and I know this is going to sound silly, that was the biggest game for UNLV, I feel, in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I've been going to games since I moved out here, what was it, 97. So I wasn't here for the Tark years. I was here for the Bano years. They were pretty good, actually. He actually did a pretty good job, as long as he could have behaved himself. He'd probably still be the coach here. But yeah, it's very interesting. There was a sellout crowd. I was at the New Mexico game earlier this year, and they blew New Mexico out, and that was a really good crowd there, and I was really excited about that crowd. This one was even better. I mean, it was clear. People were painting their faces. It was like we were at an actual college basketball. I grew up in Cleveland, went to Cleveland State, went to Akron. I mean, it's not like I'm going to Duke. I'm not one of the Duke crazies or whatever. And so it was a lot of fun. The way everybody got into this game. And I had San Diego State in that game. I needed that game, and my followers know I needed that game like life and death. And they match up very well with UNLV. And the problem the Rebels have is they take too many outside shots. They took a 13-point lead. They got complacent.
To me, in the outside shots, and then when they did get a fast break opportunity, sometimes the numbers weren't there. You got a lead. Don't go in and force. You got one guy going down against two. Bring it back out and take some clock.
Right.
They just very undisciplined in some of the key parts of that game. And as they've done so many times against San Diego State, they had the lead and then they fell behind by one. And I just said, oh, here we go again. UNLV had lost 6 in a row to San Diego State. And this has actually become like a heated rivalry. I mean, I was to the San Diego State game last year, at the Thomas and Mack, and I was surprised how many San Diego State people made the trip. And I know this is a great place to come for a weekend,
right.
Come to Vegas, do the Vegas thing, go to a basketball game. But this has become a big rivalry, and UNLV wanted this game bad, and it was. The crowd was electric. The Thomas and Mack was rocking. I've been to, most of the UNLV games this year when I was in town, and it's just big game. So what I'm setting it up for, Brian, I'm looking for a letdown from UNLV off of such a big win. This is a situation, plus the fact they had such a satisfying, they finally got that monkey off their back. They beat their arch rival. But they're playing a team, TCU, that they already played earlier in the year at home. I was at that game. That game was over in the first 6 minutes of the game. They took like a 30-10 lead, 32-14. It was just crazy out of the gate and never looked back in that game. How can they be in a right frame of mind to go to TCU off of such a, it's not even like they have to wait till Thursday or the weekend. It's from Saturday to Tuesday.
Yeah, we actually did a video on that game, and the line came out higher than either one of us thought it was going to be. You talk about the game against TCU. They did it from the three-point range. And UNLV is not the best three-point shooting team. They shoot 52.4% from three-point range in that game. TCU, which is actually a pretty good three-point shooting team, 16.7%. And that's your game right there.
Right.
Both teams like to run, which I think favors UNLV a little bit.
Sure.
They've got the better players to run. But yeah, you play a TCU team that you've beaten 13 out of 14 times, And to top it off, who do they play next? New Mexico, a team they embarrassed here, and they got to go to the pit to play them.
Which is no fun place to
No
play.
fun place to play, and we've seen how UNLV does on the road this year. So it's a letdown situation. The matchup isn't the greatest because TCU wants to run, which is the strength of UNLV. But I cannot back the Rebels at this point. I mean, they've gone into places that aren't this tough and struggled. I mean, Air Force and Boise State. I figured they'd struggle at Boise. It's a place that they normally don't go to. But
and Air Force has a style that's very frustrating to UNLV.
Right.
We're projecting the line. We actually put this line out. We agreed, which doesn't happen often, but we both have UNLV coming out it as an 8.5-point favorite here. We're projecting it. We're taping on Monday, so we don't have the actual lines out yet. I think TCU can keep it close, and I see this game, 3 to 5 point game max either way. I mean, they have a shot to pull the upset here. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree. And you talk about TCU, the way they play, shooting the three-pointers, 16.7%, that's not going to happen again. They're going to shoot at least as well as UNLV is from the outside. And you got a TCU team who's 11-2 straight up at home this year, and they have impressive wins over Colorado State and Wyoming. I mean, there hasn't been a situation for the most part that they've really been blown out of these games. And TCU is not a very good defensive team. UNLV is going to put points on the board. The over may be something you might want to take a look at, depending on what kind of line we get. But TCU has played very well here, and Colorado State and Wyoming are two pretty good teams. I mean, they're on the bubble. They actually can make it to the tournament because our conference has been so good. I think we're like in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, definitely this conference is much stronger than people give it credit for.
Right.
You talk about the Mountain West and people just, they brush it off.
It doesn't get on TV a lot. The people on the East Coast are sleeping by the time these games go on.
Let's not take one thing back to San Diego State. For all the players that they lost last year from graduation, absolute fabulous coaching job this year by Fisher. You've got to give him credit.
I have never been a Fisher fan because his teams just play haphazardly, and they don't look like they ever have an actual plan written up. When they go on in the court, they just whoever's open and they go with it. He's a great recruiter. He's always been a great recruiter. But they're so young. And to be able to play a team that has some veteran leadership like UNLV on the road, that's impressive.
And just their record in general. They were 13th ranked in the country coming into the MAC on Saturday. So got to give them credit. There you have it. We're both going to go with TCU. You got a double bubble play from the big boys at pregame. We're going to take TCU plus the points. We look for a close one on Tuesday. Be sure to carry on the conversation. Go to pregamevideos.com and you'll have our show notes, and you want to ask us any questions, we'll be there. We'll stop by each day and answer whatever you got. We're going to come back. We're going to go to Wednesday action. We've got some college basketball. We're going to go to the Big 12. Big revenge game in the Big 12. Oklahoma State at Missouri up next.